We got a raid today, guys, but before we raid, let me watch this video by Platinum Well. I always enjoy his videos, so let's check it out.
The Alliance in World of Warcraft have always just been labeled as the good guys, but there's a lot more depth to them than that. From the various unique human kingdoms, ancient civilizations, and space-traveling alien goat people, rich lore is everywhere. And some of that lore might make you reconsider their good guy stereotype.
No, Alliance has done a lot of bad stuff.
How each race joined the Alliance, we need to understand how the Alliance, as we know it today, was even formed in the first place.
Grad series.
Okay, well, let's start at the end of the First War. The orcs just rampaged out of the Dark Portal and destroyed the city of Stormwind. Regent Lord Anduin Lothar and the kingdom's refugees flee northward through the eastern kingdoms to Lordaeron until King Tyrannus Menethil II of the Orcish invasion. Keep in mind that orcs are aliens to Azeroth from a totally different planet. Humans have never encountered them before. All of a sudden, there's these creatures that are 7 foot tall, several times stronger than humans, and have an endless bloodlust. And there's hundreds of them, and they're not gonna stop until everything is dead in their wake. So this is kind of a big problem, and King Tyrannus Menethil summons all 7 human kingdoms to discuss what to do next. These kingdoms include Lordaeron, who have the largest army of the kingdoms, Stromgarde, the oldest human kingdom, the Admiralty of Kul Tiras, known for their naval and merchant prowess, Gilneas, who are British, independent, and kind of dicks. More on that later. The Magocracy of Dalaran, known for their magical expertise, Alterac, who are I don't know, they're kind of just there. And then there's the Kingdom of Stormwind, at least what's left of it.
He looks way more badass in the portrait.
Dwarf and gnome refugees arrive at Lordaeron and tell the humans that the orcs have already conquered Khazad-dûm. So clearly the orcs are moving fast, and we need to figure out this whole alliance thing. I mean, like, who's even gonna be the leader, huh?
No, hey, I don't think
At this time, the priest, Turallion, tells the kingdoms that they need to get their act together. I mean, look at this child. This is King Varian Ring of Stormwind. His future is ruined. His kingdom is destroyed, and his parents are dead.
Damn, he had a rough life.
All of your babies will be orphans if we do not put aside our differences and kill these orcs.
Sounds fine.
Okay, maybe Turallion is kind of right here. Let's just bite our tongue.
Dude, that always reminds me of Esfand. Esfand's on the portrait, guys. Blizzard loves him so much they put him in WoW. How cool is that?
And work together.
He's been in there since classic WoW.
Suggests that Anduin Lothar should be the leader of this alliance of Lordaeron. You see, thousands of years ago, Lothar's ancestor, Thoradin, leader of the great nation of Erethdor, worked with the High Elves to defeat the Trolls in a previous war. In turn, the High Elves were in debt to the Arathi bloodline, meaning that they would have an ally with this new war against the Orcs. Like I said earlier, the Horde marched northward through the continent and took over the Dwarven and Gnome region of Khazad-dûm. But both races fell back to their fortified cities. And when the Horde tried to assault Ironforge, they suffered heavy losses, as practically all of the Dwarven population took arms to repel the assault, and 10 Orcish invaders were slain for every 1 dwarf. Gnomeregan was a similar story, because no matter how big an orc is, they can't beat a Gatling gun firing 4,000 rounds per minute directly into their center mass.
Activate weapons!
The body count was just far too high to justify the continued assault of the capital cities, and the orcs moved upward and were successful in taking the dwarven settlements in the wetlands region. But the Hinterlands was a different story, and the Wildhammer Dwarves, a clan of griffin-riding isolationists wielding mystical stormhammers, laid the smackdown on the orcs and were later supported by the Alliance of Lordaeron, and in the end, the once insular, savage dwarven clan joined the Alliance.
Wildhammer! Oh, and for the Alliance!
And to make a long story short, the Alliance won the Second War after years of bloody conflict. But it wasn't without its casualties. Numerous towns and cities were destroyed, thousands were slain, and Anduin Lothar died in the final battle at the Black Rock Mountain. In his memory, a statue was erected in the burning steppes, pointing his sword valiantly at the mountain. And according to the Tides of Darkness book, it was Orcish prisoners who hauled all of the stone to construct the statue for the Alliance's victory and the monument for the Horde's defeat.
Me and my brother saved him in the story, guys. There's a multi-universe where he's alive. When the Warcraft 2 match starts, there's like a bunch of ogres just jumping him and pounding him, and he dies instantaneously. But we would press like minus to slow down the game and do slash it is a good day to die, enter, and if you press that you become immune to every damage, and we saved him. We attempted that like 4 times because he dies so fast, right? But yeah, we managed to save him. Yo, I also never realized he had a cool belt like that. That's pretty badass.
But maybe, just maybe,
Yeah, we
the
saved
real
him.
victory was all the friends we made along the way in the formation
We are.
of the Alliance.
Wow, 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 wow.
But this peace between the kingdoms would not last forever. First was the High Elves of Quel'Thalas,
Nothing lasts
drawing
forever.
back their participation in the Alliance entirely, citing the humans' poor response when Quel'Thalas was attacked by the orcs and trolls, and also their ancient debt was paid, so goodbye. Now, there are a few High Elves that remained in the Alliance, like those who were loyal to the Kirintor Mages of Dalaran, or the Farstriders like Illyria Windrunner. But Quel'Thalas as a nation wasn't particularly interested in being all buddy-buddy with the rest of the Alliance races. Meanwhile, the human kingdoms pulled their resources together to rebuild Stormwind
that
and the
timeline.
other locations destroyed
better
during the war, and Nethergarde
Pojo,
Keep
thank you
to
very
guard
much,
the Dark
man.
Portal. But more importantly, they needed to figure out what to do with all these orcs they had just imprisoned. Their solution was to construct internment camps to house them, which was a rather expensive idea. An idea that Gen Greymane, king of Gilneas, refused to play a part in because all of this stuff was just too damn expensive, and the kingdom of Gilneas didn't benefit from any of it, and he'd ultimately leave the Alliance to go do his own thing and built the Greymane Wall to isolate his kingdom from the outside world. Okay, so now the Third War happens, so Warcraft 3. Lordaeron is destroyed by the Scourge, and the orcs escape
I
their
thought he
imprisonment
blocked off
and
for
go to
the
Kalimdor
undeads.
to start a new version of the
Or-
Horde. And by classic World of Warcraft, they are pushing in the hostile lands. In classic WoW, the Horde is invading Ashenvale to harvest the resources of the Kaldorei lands. Now, typically, Night Elves are quite prideful and are hesitant of ever working with outsiders, but the Elven race suffered heavy casualties during the Third War
Holy,
and
this
lost their
art's so good.
immortality. So they joined the Alliance in case the Horde expansion into their forests ever became unmanageable. And that's the lore reason for them joining the Alliance. But the gameplay reason, so the real reason why they joined the Alliance, is because the faction needed a capital city in Kalimdor, and they also needed a race that could be druids. And you know what? It would be awesome if the Alliance had a playable race that could also be, a shaman. That would be just wonderful.
I thought Alliance, I guess it makes sense over here, but what was that big battle? It's like the last battle in Warcraft 3 where you have to defend like waves of zombies coming in, and Alliance, humans, elves, everyone like ally each other to fight them off, right? That's Battle of Mount Hydra? Yeah, that one. I thought that's where like humans and elves got like super close and were like forever allies.
The spaceship fortress called the Exodar crash lands into the Azure
I
Mist.
wonder what would have happened with the game if Horde had Draenei and Alliance had Blood Elves. I wonder. I know some are gonna say, "Oh, this is how it's supposed to be," but I feel like Blood Elves got retconned to go Horde because they wanted some pretty characters because they all look savage back then at least. Nowadays, like it's kind of like Fairyland world. But yeah, I'm doing great, Bash. What's up?
miles, and the Draenei come stumbling out of the ship's wreckage.
How exactly do you crash into a planet? That's what I want to know.
The Exodar was originally a part of a space fortress called Tempest Keep, an interdimensional traveling fortification
That would have been cool to
given
join,
to the
bro.
Draenei by the godlike manifestations of light called the Naru. So way back in time, the Draenei that we know today were originally called the Eridar, but 2/3 of them were corrupted by the Burning Legion. Prophet Velen fled and flew away with the rest of the uncorrupted Eridar, and then they were renamed to the Draenei, meaning exiled ones in their
Yeah,
language.
they look so cool
So
in
the
the art.
Draenei took a spaceship, crashed it into a new world called Draenor, got slaughtered by the orcs who killed them in the thousands, and then the orcs blew up the world with magical energy and turned it into Outland. But hey, I guess they have Tempest Keep now, but even that too was taken when Kael'thas Sunstrider and his
Man,
blood
Draenei's lost
followers
everything.
took over the fortress. The Draenei tried to escape in a section of the space-traveling fortress called the Exodar, but the Blood Elves sabotaged the engine, sending the ship crash-landing into a new world, Azeroth.
Is that what happened?
Hi.
The Draenei then meet members of the Alliance and join the faction because, well, the Alliance seemed pretty cool. They worship the light like they do, and they even helped in defeating a Legion invasion. The Draenei didn't even know that was possible. And more importantly, the Alliance isn't the Horde. The orcs had massacred a huge swath
Goodness,
of the
that's a lot of
Draenei race
dead.
back on Draenor. I mean, there's literally a road paved with the bones of Draenei that lead to the Dark Portal. And in the weakened state the Draenei are currently
suctions.
in, they're gonna need all the help they can get from their allies. Because they know that the Burning Legion is going to continuously hunt them down throughout the universe. Okay, so let me get this straight. The Burning Legion commander, Kil'jaeden, has been hunting you down across the universe for tens of thousands of years.
Yes,
And they've destroyed every world that you call home in one way or another.
correct.
And now you've crash landed here on Azeroth and have no plans of leaving anytime soon.
Without a doubt. For the Alliance!
Yeah. For the Alliance, you're totally welcome with us.
Olden days of Giga. Yeah, I saw that artwork and I was like, holy, these guys look bad. Look at this, man.
Burning Legion is going to
Dude, what
continuously
if WoW art style was like this angle?
hunt them down throughout the universe.
Damn.
Okay, so and now you've leaving anytime soon.
Without
That
a
was
doubt. For the Alliance!
Yeah. For the Alliance, you're totally welcome with us. Oh shit. Okay, let's rewind time a bit. You know how I said Lordaeron was overrun by the Scourge? Well, yeah, Gilneas didn't help at all and just hid behind their fancy wall they built. And after Lordaeron was destroyed, the zombies started pounding on the Greymane wall. And it was only a matter of time
they came
before they
after.
penetrated it. No problem, said King Greymane. Let's unleash these beasts called the Worgen from
shit.
another plane of existence, and it will fix our problems. Which it did, until the Worgen started attacking and cursing his own people. This later compiled with the Cataclysm and the undead attacking once
Dude, it'd be
again.
cool if there was an
this time under the
undead Worgen
leadership of
too.
Sylvanas, totally ruined the kingdom of Gilneas, and the Night Elves came to save the day. You see, the Worgen curse was originally a Night Elven creation, so they felt responsible in this whole furry outbreak debacle, and they rescue the Gilneans,
Furry.
teach them how to manage their Worgen curse, and they rejoin the Alliance. And this whole story of Gilneas is some of the best lore in Warcraft, I think. Gen Greymane being a king only working for his own kingdom's self-interests, and being incredibly flawed in doing so, is such a rare character archetype in a universe where almost every other good character is always willing to cooperate with everyone else for the greater good. In fact, I find his character so interesting that I voiced and edited a short story published by Blizzard all the way back in Cataclysm
Damn.
called Greymane, Lord of his Pack by James Rowell. And it's filled with additional ambience, music, and sound effects to fully immerse yourself in this written lore. He took a deep breath and let out a roar. He could feel the change, his body expanding, his hair rapidly growing, his face extending into a grizzled muzzle.
Okay, damn.
It's almost an hour long, and you can listen to it right now on my Patreon or by becoming a channel member here on YouTube. And
There it
additionally,
is.
you can listen to my extensive library of
Furry
narrated
ASMR.
Warcraft short stories filled with immersive music and sound effects.
I like Raymond a lot because I used to play him in Heroes of the Storm, and he's so good for clearing out lanes. Just like AoE potion. And his gun, like AoE still like, it's so good. I like Heroes of the Storm. Good game.
In the midst of Pandaria, playable Pandaren originate from the Wandering Isle, and after meeting Horde and Alliance members, they choose to join either faction. The Pandaren that joined the Alliance follows something called the Tushui philosophy. This philosophy is that through meditation and consideration, they can find the most effective solution to any problem. And the Alliance kind of seems to match those ideals. So they travel to the faction's capital of Stormwind and are introduced to the High King of the Alliance, Varian Rin.
I understand you want to join the Alliance. Well, we always have need of allies. I'd be a fool to turn you away, especially at a time of war. But there are a number of things I need to make clear to you. First, the races of the Alliance look out for one another. You are expected to provide aid to Alliance members in need.
Is that his real voice?
Whether they be human, gnome, Ranai, or Pandaren like yourselves. It is a simple guideline, but a meaningful one.
Comics.
Do you understand?
Yes, go on.
Good, because that brings me to my second point. Not all Pandaren have chosen the same path. Some have sided with the Horde.
Sounds
They,
AI generated.
along with the other barbarian clans of the Horde, are your new enemies. Those who you once considered friends,
I've never seen them
or
have
even
that
those you
animation.
might have loved, are now your sworn adversaries. I am deeply sorry, but the battle lines have been drawn. I will not tolerate any fraternizing with the enemy, as you could expose our alliance to danger. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, of course.
Very well. Few people know this, but I was once a pit fighter myself. A gladiator for the Horde's amusement, so I know a thing or two about martial combat.
Oh!
Let's see what you've got.
Wait, this really happens?
Don't hold back now. Let's have it. What's the matter? Come on, Pandaren, hit me!
Alright.
I haven't felt like this in years. Don't worry, my new friend. I've been in worse scraps than this. A fighting spirit like yours is welcome in the Alliance.
So some of the Pandaren joined the Alliance, but any lore actually
Alright.
discussing Alliance Pandaren
That was
is
kinda good.
very few and far between. Which is the same for the rest of the playable races that joined the Alliance, so we're gonna go through these pretty fast. The Lightforged Draenei joined the faction because Velen and the rest of the Draenei are a part of it. Also,
I
they
think
have a
Life
giant
Force looks
space
super
laser
cool.
that
I wish they
unfortunately
had more features though.
has
Their
never
options
been
seem
used
limited.
against the Horde. Void Elves joined because they got kicked out of Silvermoon for meddling with void magic, and their leader, Illyria Windrunner, convinces the king that they can join the Alliance and use their chaotic void magic against the Horde. Kultaros
Yeah.
left the Alliance after they didn't support them
I always want to
during
make a comment about the Blood Elves joining the Horde, and then if they join the Horde, I feel like these guys are like already Horde's family, right? And the Blood Elf of the Horde version should accept them back, but it's always like retcon so that Alliance could play these guys and Horde could play that guys, and it's like twisted a little bit in the threads, right?
They got kicked out of Silvermoon for meddling
But I'm
with
okay
void
with it.
magic,
It's just
and
it
their
bothers me
leader,
a little
Illyria
bit.
Windrunner convinces the king that they can join the Alliance and use their chaotic
There's no
void
more
magic
Lorne WoW.
against the Horde. Kultaros left
Alliance
the
doesn't want mana crack addict. I mean, these guys are like void crack addicts now, right? It's almost like the same thing.
Alliance after they didn't support them during an offensive attack in Kalimdor.
I
Flash-
think the allied races are cool to add new races to the game, but some of them, maybe this is the best way they could write it, right?
Forward to the battle for Azeroth, and another Horde versus Alliance war is happening, and the Alliance earns the Kultiran's trust
yeah,
once
I
again,
know where everyone's
and
coming
they
from. I'm
rejoin
like
the
that too.
Alliance. Mechanomes join the faction because gnomes are in it. That's literally it. The Dark Iron Dwarves join the faction because their leader, Moira Bronzebeard, helps devise a plan
I like
to defeat
this one.
Ragnaros and bridges the
I
gap
like
between
Iron
the
Dwarves.
Dark
I think
Iron
it's
clan
cool.
and the Alliance. And like I mentioned in my Why the Races Joined the Horde video, the Earthen and the Drakthir didn't explicitly join either of the factions and work more as ambassadors, which is why they're both a playable
Yeah, the
cross-faction
Mechanome's
race.
questionable.
So what I find interesting about the Alliance and the races that joined it is at first, you think they're, just the good guy faction who can do nothing wrong. The total opposite of the
Oh,
Russian
but
Temple
I think
Horde.
it's a
But as
23
you
months.
learn more
Appreciate it,
about
my
the
man.
faction, you realize it's a lot more gray than that. Through Warcraft history, the Alliance has done things like have Orcish camps with slave labor, destroyed civilian goblin ships off the coast of the Lost Isles, kidnapped Thrall after he left the Horde and was literally traveling to save the world, Lord Garithos sending elven soldiers to their death, the Southern Barons invasion.
Wasn't that guy mind controlled? Or maybe it was before. I know that he didn't like elves.
Lord Garithos sending elven soldiers to their death, the Southern Barons
Maybe it was
invasion,
pre.
the purging of Dalaran, gunning down fleeing Horde troops in Pandaria, dwarves strip mining resources and artifacts in Kalimdor and slaughtering Tauren tribes, using flamethrowers against the Volpera, who were not allied with the Horde just yet, and attacking the Horde in Stormheim after a previously established
Wait,
truce.
Alliance is so based for that. We were trying to end the Volpera. Yo, based. Hello?
Flamethrowers against the Volpera, who were not allied with the Horde just yet, and attacking the Horde in Stormheim after a previously established truce. And that isn't even including the actions that the Alliance races have done that aren't necessarily bad,
Dude,
but
Platinum loves using the shy emote on these models, man.
extremely problematic, incompetent, and leading to a profound amount of suffering. The Night Elves attracted the ire of the Burning Legion and blew up the world, and they also made the Worgen. The Eredar were led astray and played an important part in the role of the Burning Legion being so powerful in the first place. The Dwarves had a giant civil war, and the Dark Irons accidentally summoned Ragnaros and created the Blackrock Mountain.
Whoa.
The Gnomes accidentally blew up their city and almost wiped out their entire race. When Stormwind
They
was
still
rebuilt,
haven't
the
gotten their
nobles
city
just
back.
didn't pay the stonemasons who built it. The Kultirans went on a vengeance murder bender
Tom?
and chased after the Horde after the Third War, and King Greymane is just kind of a shit leader. Down in the description of this video, there's a playlist that goes into detail of all of these embarrassing blunders. So, although the races of the Alliance work together for a supposed brighter, nobler future, behind those immaculate stone walls is an ugly history. Both factions, though, have a war-torn past, but the Horde's foundation is about finding a home, and the Alliance is all about protecting theirs, and with it, there's an innate sense of pride in that. A common goal between its various united races to stand as one against overwhelming odds that have been defeated time and time again, with a couple war crimes and massive blunders sprinkled along the way. And also, their capital cities are 1,000 times better than the Hordes, which just, makes them the superior faction.
I'm like thinking about the story. I guess it's kind of like Star Wars. I used to be a big Star Wars fan, but the newer ones, WoW 2, the story was like fire, and then the newer ones like. That being said, I still like WoW a lot. Also, it's an MMO, so it's really hard to curate the stories to everyone's favor because they have to make it make sense that Alliance is still alive, Horde is still alive. If it's just a playthrough, you could just kill everything and take over like Elwyn Forest or whatnot, right? But you can't do that in World of Warcraft. You can't. Because it's an MMO and they have to change way too many things and it gets complicated. Yeah. Now with that attitude, I mean, what could we do? It's an MMO.